Preparing to live stream. It says we're now streaming live on YouTube, but it hasn't completely transitioned yet. One moment, I'm just turning my sound off. Right, good evening and welcome to Wincanton Town Council full council meeting on the 9th of November. This meeting is being recorded on Zoom and live streamed on YouTube. One moment, I believe there's a member wishing to join. Councillor Greening is just joining. Okay, welcome. I'll just wait for Councillor Greening to go live. Thank you. So welcome everyone. Can I first check before we move into the agenda by raising your hands that you've all received the papers for tonight's meeting and prepared for the meeting. So I have confirmation from Councillor Greening, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgate, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Shelbourne Barrow and Councillor Vagg and the clerk. Have I covered you all in that? Have I missed anyone out? Okay, thank you. So we're going to move into the agenda. We've got a very busy agenda tonight. What I first would like to do, I note one member of the public has joined our meeting tonight, Mr. Ellard, is make the member of the public aware about public participation and that questions and comments from the members of the public in accordance with Standing Orders 3E and H can be received. Questions are directed to council. Members of the public are not to verbally abuse, bully or harass a member of council. So as you're all aware, public participation is for 20 minutes with 3 minutes per person. So for yourself, Mr. Ellard, I'm presuming you wish to speak. Can I invite you to speak now, Mr. Ellard?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Sean Corney, the leader of the Sports Ground Committee, can't be with us tonight. He's still at work. So I've come along to ask you whether you have completed your deliberations vis-a-vis the Sports Ground grant, the £5,000 that you precepted last year to provide funding support to the Sports Ground. We had a meeting with you on the 21st of October, which is almost 3 weeks ago. I wondered how you had got on, as do my fellow trustees.
Have you completed your questions, Mr. Ellard?
Yes.
Okay, so I can respond to that. We actually will be including it in our agenda for the 23rd of November. And at the end of this meeting, it will be one of the proposals we put forward to include as part of our formal agenda. So with that in mind, I now close public participation and now I will move into the formal agenda. So firstly, I'm not aware of any apologies. In fact, it looks like we have a full complement of councillors tonight. So I'd like to move into declarations of interest. Declarations of interest. Members to declare any interest. Mr. Ellard has left the meeting at 19:04, just for the local clerk to record. So point 2, declarations of interest. Members to declare any interest they may have in an agenda item that accord with requirements of the Council Code of Conduct. So can I invite councillors who wish to declare an interest? I have Councillor Ralph and Councillor Greening. Do you wish to state what your declaration is, please?
Yeah, I have a potential interest in agenda item number 16, because it's likely I will do some paid professional work on the Wincanton Town Festival Lights Festival. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ralph. Councillor Greening.
Mirror that sentiment or comment statement from Lizzie as well. Point 16.
So it's declaring a financial interest in point 16.
Correct, yes.
Thank you. Locum Clerk, are you able to record that?
I have recorded it.
Is there any further, Councillor Thomas?
Along the same lines, there's a possibility that I might have a financial interest in the WTF Festival as partner in Bootmakers.
Thank you. And it again is a financial interest you're declaring.
It's very likely, yes.
Okay. Locum Clerk, can you confirm if that is sufficient and at this time?
Yes, absolutely sufficient.
And when we get to item 16, obviously members who have declared an interest are unable to vote, and I would ask that you remove yourself in terms of mute and video from the screen, please.
Yeah. And
then once it's completed, I'll switch your video back on so you know you can talk again. So thank you. Okay, thank you for that. So the next item on the agenda is minutes of the previous meeting, and this is to receive and sign the minutes of the Zoom meeting held on the 26th of October 2020 in accordance with Standing Order 12C. So colleagues have prepared for this, for the meeting, would have reviewed the minutes. So can I ask, are there any amendments you wish to make to page?
No.
Sorry. To 0041, 0042, 0043, 0044, and 0045, and that's the final page ending in signed date 9th of November 2020. Are there any amendments to be made in the minutes of the 26th of October? No one is putting their hand up, so can I then ask for a proposer for those minutes, please? Councillor Greening, and can I ask for a seconder, please? Councillor Thomas, and a vote from council if you are for the minutes of the 26th of October. So I'm going to go around the screen. I have Councillor Greening, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, and Councillor Vagg. So that's unanimous. Thank you. And an e-signature will be added to those, and it will be loaded onto the council website as soon as possible. Now, at this point, I would like to for councillors to consider deferring an item on the agenda to our next meeting, and that item is sorry, I'm actually missing it. I'm looking at it. It's 13, the annual community awards. And the rationale that I wish for councillors to consider is it's to discuss the community awards, we would need to discuss personal information about individuals who had nominated and those people who were being put forward for award, and I felt in our new regime in terms of being live streamed onto YouTube that wasn't appropriate and potentially a breach of data protection because it's personal information. So I would like to propose that we move that agenda item 13 forward to the next meeting, where we will hold a closed session for that particular item to be discussed in detail. And then those that achieve the award, which I'm sure there will be many, will be receiving a letter following the 23rd of November confirming that they have been awarded an award and who actually had nominated them for that award. So, councillors, are there any particular comments you wish to make about this proposal that I'm stating today? No, Councillor Ralph. Could you unmute yourself? Sorry.
Sorry. Just to say, normally I wouldn't want to delay things, but I feel like at the moment we can't have any of the ordinary celebrations around this award because of lockdown. So in this particular matter, I think delaying it by 2 weeks is probably acceptable.
Thank you. Any other comments from councillors? if there are no comments from councillors, either for or against, can I then ask that I have a proposer to defer the annual community awards to the 23rd of, the proposed date is the 23rd of November, for us to hold a closed session to discuss those awards. So can I have a proposer? Councillor Vagg? Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Thomas. And can I have a vote if you're for supporting the deferral to the 23rd for the reasons stated? So I have Councillor Greening for, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrett, Councillor Vagg. So 4 is, I believe, unanimous. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. So we'll defer that forward. Thank you for that. So the next item on the agenda relates to planning. So I'd like to invite Councillor Thomas to discuss the planning application that's been put forward.
Hello, yes, there's only one tonight, which is 20/02744, full application. It's the erection of one dwelling and ancillary works at the land north of Verrington Lane, Charlton Musgrove. So it's almost part of the current development that's going down there at the bottom of the hill near Whitehall garages. It's a 3/4 bedroom bungalow. It's quite a large plot. There's one objection. Well, actually, let me start from the beginning. It mentions on maps in the planning application that there is a pond, but that pond no longer exists and it's out of date as a plan, and the water source or the stream is now underground entirely.
I'm not leaving the meeting. I'm just moving off the screen. One moment.
There is one comment from a neighbour, and that's the only comment on the application. And that neighbour lives at the old Barns, which is just up the. I don't know if anyone's seen the plan or the map of where this is, but it's the old Barns. It's at the end of the farm track. They've said that the stream that runs through their land goes to the pond, which allegedly doesn't exist, and then drains into an underground pipe. They're worried that the pond will be got rid of and the stream will cause flooding on their land. I don't know the land at all. I haven't obviously been down there, but the developer's saying that, or the developer's agent is saying that there is no pond, whereas the neighbor is saying there is a pond. So I don't know. I think that's an objection. And the other objection that that neighbor has is that access to the site is through, as across her land, and there was an agreement between Hopkins and her that the ground would be tarmacked and resurfaced due to the wear and tear of site vehicles. It's slightly more complicated than the actual building itself. So
before I open it up to Councillor Vagg, can I just check how much longer in time frame does this require a response from council?
Well, how long? Well, the application is 28th of September. So what have we got after that? Is that about 2 months or a month?
2 months.
2 months.
2 months.
So 2 months from then. I would personally say that it's a bit more complicated than it looks, and I wouldn't personally say go ahead, because I can't possibly say.
Right. So that's, thank you, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Vagg, I'll invite you to speak, please. You're on mute, I'm afraid, Councillor Vagg.
Is it possible to do a site visit to see if there really is a pond?
I suppose so, yes. Yes, I suppose so. I mean, there either is a pond or there isn't a pond.
Well, there are two different types of pond. I used to have a natural pond that appeared when the water table went up to a certain level, and then it disappears when in a previous property when the water level drops. Councillor Tudgay.
I'm not particularly in favour of having a site meeting. I don't think that would achieve a great deal, in my opinion. I think we could add, I've forgotten the word now. We could add a rider to the application that the pipe and the drain must be kept clear, must be retained, and must be maintained.
Oh, is that a covenant? Is it the
A
word?
covenant. That's thank you, Ian. I think it's also worth mentioning that Ian has read the comments from the neighbour, but the comments are in fact marked as neutral, not for or against on the application. So I think that should be mentioned as well. And I think we should also remind ourselves that to object to this application, we have to have sound planning grounds to object.
Yeah.
And I personally don't really, other than this issue with the drains, the issue about the access is an issue really for the landowner and Hopkins to deal with.
Exactly.
So,
that's something that they obviously came to an agreement, whether verbally or informally.
Yes.
That is their business, I think, and that's perhaps not our job. But
I mean, I know it is written in the on the comment, and we should not cast it aside unnecessarily. But I really don't see any sound planning reasons for objecting to this proposal, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, any other comments? Councillor Vagg. Thank you, Councillor Tudgay.
I'd suggest on that basis that we don't vote for or against it, just that we make no comment. Because if we vote for it, it gives the wrong kind of message.
Thank you, Councillor Vagg. Councillor Smith.
On that note, because I've obviously voiced my opinion before about the possibility of not responding to applications that we can't be strongly in favour or against, can we not just respond neutrally, like the neighbour's comment, support that comment to the neutral? We don't have to recommend one way or the other, but we can still submit a comment, surely.
Okay, so thank you for that, Councillor Smith. What I'm hearing then, let's just look at this and then have a discussion. What I'm hearing is we're not saying yes, but we're not saying no. So we're not for or against. What we're actually saying is that it's more complex than just supporting it as a planning application, although we would find it hard to decline it because there is no reason to decline under planning guidance as it currently stands. But there are concerns around waterways and drainage. So how can we summarise that in a way that just says that we acknowledge it, and we have the only comments we have is further clarity is required around the pond and drainage and access. Isn't that what we're saying?
I think the access thing, as we were saying, I think that's something that there was an agreement that the neighbour and Mr. Hopkins came to, and didn't involve any planning application by the look of it.
Okay,
so it looked like it was their business. I think with as far as the drainage goes, I think it would just be, if we say we're not against it or for it, but we would be minded to take note of the neighbours' concerns about drainage across their land. And hope we can't force anybody, obviously, but it would be considerate of a developer to consider that aspect.
Okay, is that whatever is? Sorry, are councillors supportive of that? Are they for that comment to go forward? And we'll vote in a second. Or is there any further comment you wish to make at this point? If not, we'll vote. We're not voting for. We're just saying we'll submit the comment. Is that correct?
I think so.
Okay, so do we need to vote on that or just note that, Locum Clerk?
I think I would vote on it.
Okay, so we're going to vote for a comment to be included, and I'll let Ian draft that comment and share it with councillors, but make our Locum Clerk aware in the office and the Deputy Clerk tomorrow, please, so a submission can go in. And it would be good if we could submit it in a letter rather than just a comment on the application. So 4, please. Can I have councillors supportive of 4 for a comment to go to SSDC in relation to those items that Councillor Thomas has raised? 4. So I have Councillor Greening, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Power, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Smith, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrett and Councillor Vagg. And I'm presuming, Councillor Ralph, are you against? Sorry, you need to unmute.
Sorry, I'm against, yeah.
And Councillor Ralph is against, thank you. Is that okay, Locum Clark and Councillor Thomas?
Yes, that's fine by me. Yeah.
Lovely.
And that's it. There are no more applications.
Thank you for that, appreciated. And now we're moving on to item 5 on the agenda, which is the checklist. So point 5 is the checklist for November, and there are a number of checks on the papers shared. Sorry, Councillor Tudgay, my head was down then looking at the statement. So
Are there any decisions to note?
Not that I saw, Ray, no.
No, thank you.
I beg your pardon.
for planning, you mean, Councillor Tudgay? Yes, thank you. So moving on to point 5 and the checklist. Can I ask, are there any comments or questions in relation to the checklist, please, from council? I would like to make a comment. Under 10871, COVID-19 supplies and community larder, those two I do not believe should have been put together on this checklist, because COVID supplies are related to sanitizer and face masks and other items, whereas the community larder was actually purchased through the town council, so we could claim back the VAT, but actually it was provided through a donation. So the costs related to that are actually completely covered. So it looks like a cost, but actually it isn't a cost.
Right.
Because there's no charge for it, just so councillors are aware. Any other comments? If not, we'll move to, yes, Councillor Vagg.
You mean fridge, not larder?
Yes, it's terminology, community fridge, but it's been called a larder, but it's actually a fridge. And it's currently sat in the town hall. Councillor Thomas.
So is this going to be changed or left?
It's a bit like, we can change it from larder to fridge if
No,
council.
I don't mean that bit. I mean the division between the fridge and COVID-19.
Oh, well, if you wish, well, the actual fridge is just under £400. So we could actually ask that council is supplied with the figures and when the monies have come into our account, if that's what you're asking.
Well, it's more that in the future, from an accounting point of view, if somebody looks at that, it'll be slightly more confusing than if they just divided them, just put them into separate boxes, just to avoid any sort of future doubt, accountancy wise.
Yes, indeed. So I will ask, can we note this, Locum Clark? So if we go through this, in terms of 10871, we will ask that those costs are separated out and clearly identified, and that the community fridge is actually purchased through the town council, but was actually funded through a donation. For clarity purposes, Councillor Ralph's expenses were related to Zoom and issues related to personnel committee that were confidential and couldn't be held on the council Zoom account. And obviously the Locum Clerk is here tonight, and that is his expenses for the time he's been acting as a Locum Clerk for our meetings within council. Any other comments or clarity required? Okay, so can I then ask for a proposer, please, for the amendments that I've stated, but also to support the checklist to move forward for the checks to be released, but not the one that relates to the community fridge, which is roughly just under £400. So then I will sort that tomorrow. So can I ask for a proposer? Sorry, I've put my hand up because it's automatic. I don't know why I did that. Councillor Waters, are you proposing or are you asking a question? You're proposing. Can I have a seconder, please? Is that you, Councillor Power? Yes. So proposer, Councillor Waters, seconder, Councillor Power, and can I have a vote for 4, including the amendments that we've just discussed? So we have Councillor Greening, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Shelbourne-Barry, and Councillor Vagg. So I believe that's unanimous.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Now we need 2 councillors to sign cheques this week. So Councillor Tudgay's put his hand up, and Councillor Waters. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Moving on to item 6, which is the annual governance and accountability return 1920. What I'm going to do first is read a statement from our financial accountant, who is undertaking with an internal auditor the AGAR for 1920, and then I will discuss the second part of this proposal, if I may, councillors. So the first part, which is a position statement. So regarding the AGAR, this is a report to take to the full council meeting on the 9th of November. The accountant has produced the relevant figures for AGAR from Sage, but neither she nor I, which is the locum clerk that's currently working within our council, that's not Richard, the locum in this meeting, can make boxes 7 and 8 balanced, and these are our end of year figures. It is acceptable to have a difference between boxes 7 and 8, but only if we can explain the reason for the difference, and we cannot. We are confident that the bank balances are correct because the bank accounts have all been reconciled throughout the year 2021, although we are still trying to get the bank statements for 2 of the bank accounts for from the NatWest. I suggest that we need a highly experienced internal auditor who is familiar with town council accounts to go through all the information. I'm sure that a fresh pair of eyes will find the problem. The best internal auditors to date, and there are 2 identified within this document, I'm not going to read their names tonight, have given us costs, and it is estimated the cost of the work could be around 700 to 800. However, we are suggesting that we protect 1,000 to enable the Sage accounts to go back, because there is still a variance, as I understand it, in 1819 that needs to be reconciled for 1920. The external auditor has been contacted and made aware that we were breached the 9th of November, which is obviously today. That was an extension we agreed in October. They have subsequently come back and offered us a date for the 13th of November. However, it is highly unlikely we will be able to complete the reconciliation required to meet that date. So that's a position statement on where we are. Council, are there any comments before I move to the second part of the question or statement? Okay, thank you. So we currently are unable to complete section 1 of AGAR for 1920, and we now need to appoint a very experienced internal auditor to identify the discrepancy in the figures before we can actually move forward to actually submit AGAR. We also recognise, having spoken with our external auditors and also with Somerset Association of Local Councils, that we will be unable to submit on the final date, which is the 13th of November being offered currently. And that is the final date. There are no further extensions. We then move to being on a list of other councils that have not met the timeframes for AGAR for 1920. So this is serious in terms of our internal audit, our financial position, because we operate with public money, and we need to be able to demonstrate that we are adhering to the right practices and processes, and figures should balance in the way that they're required to balance, and policies should meet that requirement as well. So the question now for councillors to consider is to identify a very experienced internal auditor to identify these discrepancies across 1920 and potentially back into 1890 and 1819, and beyond. So we could be going back a long time and even to ledgers. So that's why it may take more than £700 or £800. It may go to 1,000. So what I'm looking for from council is questions, and then I will ask for a proposer, a seconder, and for council to vote if you support this approach. Questions, councillors? No questions? Councillor Ralph.
Do you have any idea what the new time frame might be? Have you been given any indication of when we will be able to submit?
No. We cannot do anything until we know why there's a discrepancy and where that discrepancy originates from. So it's difficult to say. Councillor Tudgay.
What are the, or do we know what the potential consequences of breaching the date are? Have we any indication? I mean, is it the matter of a fine, or what are the consequences of breaching?
We will have a full audit, and it will.
Will we have to pay for that audit?
I believe we have to pay for that audit, but we will confirm that when we get to that place. We've gone on to we will currently be going on to a list with other councils that have not achieved AGAR for lots of different reasons. We're all different, and in this case it's discrepancy with figures, but others will be for other reasons. How long the list is and how quickly we will be expecting anything like a full audit, I don't know. It could take years, or it could be under a year. Who knows? With COVID, things are not consistent. However, what you should hear from this is we've had experienced, qualified individuals tracking through our accounts and processes to try and achieve AGAR for 1920 and resolve the issues in 1819. We've been unable to do that, and this is the next step for us, and it's a proactive professional council who take this decision, in my opinion. So I would ask that councillors now consider proposing, supporting the appointment of an experienced internal auditor to go back through SAGE for however long it takes to identify where the discrepancy is. So can I have a proposal to appoint for up to the sum of £1,000? Councillor Smith, are you is that a proposal?
Just to ask, you seem to be implying fairly clearly that there isn't actually an alternative course of action worth talking about, because we essentially have to get someone to do this piece of work, or we end up doing it ourselves, right?
We can't do it ourselves. What I would say to you, Councillor Smith, is that we've got a locum clerk who is very experienced in supporting town councils through this process, an accountant, and we've had another internal auditor who can't help us balance the books. So I think, with all due respect, we are very bright, able people, but I don't think we have the skills to do with SAGE that need to happen, and may have to go back to ledgers. We don't know where the discrepancy is, but we have a responsibility to find out where it is in the time frame.
So hiring someone with experience is the most efficient course of action.
It is the most efficient course of action and should, over time, save us time and save us resources. Any other questions? Thank you for that question, Councillor Smith. Any other questions from anyone? If not, can I ask for a proposer, please, to appoint another external auditor? Councillor Tudgay, can I have a seconder, please, who support that?
Just before we go there, can we have can we have a ceiling on the amount we put aside tonight?
1,000 is the ceiling.
£1,000. Thank
That's
you.
what I was saying. I apologise.
Yeah,
I thought
no,
I said it.
I will propose that.
1,000.
Yeah.
If for some reason we're unable to achieve that within that money fund, then obviously we'll have to come back to council again. But if we do so, that will be a different conversation again, because that actually means our risk is higher, if I'm honest, from my perception of it. So can I have a proposer to appoint a very experienced internal auditor to identify the discrepancies? Councillor Power, are you proposing? You're questioning?
Even if it doesn't come out of that at the end of it and we have to come back to council, is it possible we can negotiate with them a different route at all, or not, due to COVID?
Negotiate with whom?
With the AGAR people.
No, I cannot believe they will negotiate. We need to identify, my personal perception is, we need to identify why we have discrepancies in money over more than one financial year. And that is our responsibility as council. And we need to find the right tools to be able to identify where that discrepancy started from and how it happened in the first place to resolve it. So I don't think we'll be negotiating anything. We are now breaching November, which is the final month that we could have gone to. And the 13th was the additional date over the 9th of November. Councillor Tudgay.
I would like to propose that we appoint an external auditor to the tune of £1,000. And if we got to go any further, we have to come back to council for further funding.
Thank you.
I'll propose that.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Is that you, Councillor Smith, proposing? Thank you. Seconding, sorry. Councillor Tudgay has proposed, Councillor Smith has seconded. Can I have a vote for appointing a very experienced internal auditor to identify the discrepancies for no more than £1,000? And I have 4, Councillor Greening, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith. Councillor Power, do you have your hand up? Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrett and Councillor Vagg. Thank you. Did I include everyone, Locum Clark? So I believe that's unanimous. Councillor Thomas, have you frozen? I believe he may well have frozen. So please ignore the fact his hand is up at the moment, and hopefully
he's not still voting from last time, is he?
No, I think it's definitely for this one. But for some reason he's frozen. Okay, thank you for that. We're now moving on to the financial report. Oh, Councillor Thomas has left the meeting, but I'm sure he will be coming back into the meeting in a moment. So that's at 19:37. So, financial report. Council to note the financial report for 2020. So, as councillors are aware, we have an accountant who is going through our monthly accounts that are loaded onto Sage. And this is the first report that takes into account quarter one and two, but not quarter 3 to date. We will get a further report at a given point in time at the end of quarter 3. And we have a year-to-date position. What I'd like to do is ask councillors, do you have any questions? And if you see any concerns or figures that don't look right, then please say, because we need to ensure these figures are correct.
I have to say I'm much happier now some of the items are in the correct lines. It looks a much healthier situation. Other than that, I think, we're about on target for most of the budget.
Thank you. Any other comments from councillors? So this is the first of reports we received, and this is obviously September, and we'll get quarter 3 in due course, particularly ready for precept. Can I then ask if council have no, yes, Councillor Ralph.
Sorry, Chair. Are we going forward? Are we going to be able to have a monthly report, or is it going to be quarterly? Just so I understand.
The plan is to have monthly going forward. It's just in this point there was an awful lot of reconciliation that needed to be done. So going forward, it will be monthly and then quarterly as part of our finance committee.
Great.
And it may be that we look at the format of this. So not only do we look at some of the income and expenditure titles to make sure they're clear about what's in those service lines, so that going forward we're clear when we're looking to set precept and where we have variance from the amount that we've set in the precept for this financial year and going forward. So yes, monthly. Any other comments? Thank you for that, Councillor Ralph. Good comment. No? Right, so can I then ask for a proposer for this, please, this document, which is the month. One moment, I'm just sorry. I'm just now going to, hopefully when I can get on the screen. Sorry, I'm on more than one screen, so I'm letting Councillor Thomas back in at 1940. So I will wait, if you don't mind, just to make sure that if he has any comments. Hello, Councillor Thomas. Sorry about that.
That was me.
So we were just looking at the monthly budget, and do you have any comments in relation to that? Councillor Ralph has asked, will it be monthly going forward as well as quarterly? And I've confirmed that is what we're proposing to do. Do you have any other comments, Councillor Thomas? You're muted.
Sorry, you're proposing it is monthly.
Yes, it will be monthly and then quarterly as well.
Right. Okay.
But this is to quarter two. This is our
Yeah.
first one from quarter 1 and 2. Just enabled us to catch up, and obviously it has the monthly figures prior to that. So do you have any comments?
No, I think it's as often as possible is the best way. But yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're going back now, if there's no further comments, to a proposer to support this report with monthly and quarterly reports thereafter, and then a seconder. So can I have a proposer, please?
Do we need to vote on this? Surely it's just to note it.
Yeah, I think it's you're just receiving this.
Oh yes, sorry.
Yes.
I'm so used
I don't
to.
think we need to.
You're right, and it even says it on the agenda. I've got too carried away with voting, so apologies. Thank you for noting. Everyone's noted it, and the comment is in relation to monthly and quarterly is well made. So thank you for that. Okay, so I'll read the next one. To note. So councillors, to note the budget and precept schedule for 21-22. So this is item 8 on our agenda tonight. Do councillors have any comments they wish to make in relation to this schedule? No? No comments? In which case I'll ask the locum clerk to report that council have noted and there are no further comments.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Moving on to planning committee terms of reference. So this is to note and adopt the planning committee terms of reference. Councillors, you would have received this and gone through it, I'm sure. Can I ask, are there any comments to make in relation to the planning committee terms of reference? Councillor Ralph.
It's one small thing. It lists the names of the current members of the committee, and I just didn't know that dates a document pretty quickly, doesn't it? If that changes, I just didn't know if that was necessary. That was all. The small.
Okay. Thank you for that, Councillor Ralph. Locum Clerk, can I ask for your opinion on that, please?
My opinion is that once you've already had this before, I think it was last meeting, didn't we? When you decided all of this, therefore that was reported on the previous minutes. So I don't see any need for those names to be included in it. As you say, Councillor Ralph, the document will go out of date very quickly if somebody leaves the council or leaves that committee.
Thank you. So we're amending point 5 to remove councillors' names, because it was we appointed councillors to the committee and elected a chair in a previous meeting. Are there any other comments? Councillor Thomas, have you frozen again? Yes. Okay, so Councillor Thomas has disappeared, and I'm sure he will be coming back into the meeting. Yeah. Are there any other comments from councillors, please? No? So with the notable removal of under 5 councillors' names, can I ask for a proposer, please? And Councillor Tudgay, and a seconder, Councillor Ralph. And can I ask for a vote from council? Councillor Thomas isn't in the meeting currently, so we have 4. Oh, he's just coming back, but it's too late. Councillor, we're voting, we've just voted, proposed and second. We're voting as a council now to support the papers with the exception of change to members, the named members of the committee. So 4, Councillor Greening, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, Councillor Vagger 4. Also, Councillor Thomas, are you comfortable with voting for, having missed some of that conversation, or was my summary sufficient?
Yeah, my internet keeps, sorry, hold on. My internet keeps dropping out. If the only correction or omission is the naming of the members, then I have no problem with that.
So you're voting for the document.
Yeah,
Thank you. So that's unanimous, I believe,
Yes.
Locum Clark.
That's correct.
Thank you. And an e-signature will be put on that, a date, and we will review it. A minimum of 6 months, but a year is probable. The next item on the agenda is number 10, which is community development for youth outreach in terms of reference and proposal. So in terms of the terms of reference, colleagues, have you read the terms of reference? I'm looking for you to consider and approve these. So do you have any comments in relation to the terms of reference for the youth community group? No? Can I then ask for a proposer, please? Councillor Ralph, and a seconder, please. Councillor Thomas. And can I ask for a vote for the community outreach working group? So we have 4. Do you wish to speak, Councillor Thomas? Are you for? Are you voting for?
I think you did. I am voting for, but I think you incorrectly said that I was seconding it. I think somebody else seconded it.
Yes.
Oh, did I? Who did I say? Councillor Ralph, Councillor Power. Did I say? I must have been, sorry.
Don't worry.
Apologies.
But now,
Councillor,
now I am.
all right, so Councillor Ralph has proposed, Councillor Power has seconded, as I understand it, sorry, and now vote for, we have Councillor Thomas, Councillor Greening, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow and Councillor Vagg. So I understand that to be unanimous. 4. So these will be, an e-signatory will be placed on this document and it will be loaded onto our website for as with all other policies. Thank you for that. Now, the second half of this proposal was to look at and discuss and approve a proposal for youth engagement. And for some reason, I don't seem to have that in my pack at this moment. So my memory, and councillors, my memory is that for 1 month, there was a proposal for youth outreach from Young Somerset to undertake an engagement activity over a period of month with young people in the town. For one, I'm going to find it on my phone, I'm sorry. I thought it was in my pack and I now can't find it. Does anyone have it to hand? I'm going to be honest now and put my hand up and say that I can't find it.
No.
I think it's because it came by email, not as a document.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, I have it. So thank you. So 1 month, so that's 1 assistant youth worker, 3 hours per week for 4 weeks, and 1 youth worker for 5 hours per week for 4 weeks. So use of a detached vehicle and staffing costs to the total of 1,150. So this is a piece of work in accordance with recent concerns and comments raised around supporting young people, but also ensuring their voice is heard within as equal to anyone else in the town. They have a voice in what we do and how we do it. And currently, we do not have a mechanism to engage young people in the way we would like to engage them. So this came about because of conversations in relation to the skate park, but actually it would appear timely to look at this as an opportunity to instruct our public engagement, but in a way that's appropriate for the individuals we're looking to engage with. And this instance, it's young people. So we asked, as part of our first scoping meeting, for Young Somerset to submit some proposals. So the first proposal was over 4 weeks, to then write a report, having engaged with the young people, to bring that back to the working group, to then inform our planning as a council across the next financial year, but then look at what we do moving forward to support young people in our town of all ages, so those under 25 in particular. The next part was, the next offer that was proposed was for 3 months. So the same criteria, but for 3,450. And there was a third offer for 1 year that would include engagement, but it would also, like all of these, include proactive working with young people. And I would like to say that the first scoping meeting that supported this looked at deploying youth workers around lots of locations, but particularly focused on the skate park at a variety of times, to listen to the issues of young people, but build relationships. And this is also not only with building relationships with adults who are trained to engage with the young people, but also with the police and other services, those proactive relationships that did exist before lockdown, but since COVID, it's broken down slightly because people haven't been able to get out in the way they were able to. And the final part was to look at a local community or local council for young people, so giving them a true voice, all of them a true voice in their town and what they would like to see. And feeding on from that, it was to look at opportunities to empower and enable them to raise money to do various activities, one of which was a skate jam that, working potentially with the police and other, we would consider putting on next year, but with young people helping to raise money to do that. And alongside it as well, but not directly linked to this proposal, but just to round it in terms of context, some of the concerns that have been raised by people in the town around county lines, around grooming, will be identified, and antisocial behaviour, have a plan to move forward in terms of workshops and webinars aimed at parents to understand exactly what those terms mean and what to look for, and where they would get support. And in addition, the final one is to work directly, the police to work directly with schools and young children and young people around antisocial behaviour. So there's more than one approach to this, but so just to round the conversation up and to give you an update. But the proposal tonight is to look at, as a council, would we support in this financial year an engagement with young people in our town for a month at 1,150, or 3 months at 3,450, or the longer term one, which is a year. So councillors, I would truly welcome, some of you attended the meeting, scoping meeting, but your views. Councillor Greening.
I'd just like to get I think in principle, the theory, the idea is a good one. I would suggest that those channels of communication already exist, though, not only with a town council school representative, but there are facilities within our structuring in our meetings for the youth to come forward. So and then ultimately that all those things have a bearing on the costs, which leads to the next question: where in our precept does this money potentially come from?
Okay, there are a great number of questions there, and I will respond. Any other comments before I move to respond to Councillor Greening? Councillor Vagg, would you like to speak?
We're going to have to be careful on timing, because we can't vote for this today and say it starts now when we're all locked down for a month or 3 weeks. We're going to have to play the timing by ear, I think, depending on what the government declare about COVID and lockdowns.
Yes, an excellent point. Councillor Tudgate, and then I'll go back to Councillor Greening to respond.
I share Zach's views to a point. I think it's a good idea, but I would like to know where we're going to take the money from, which pot. I think there is scope within the budget, although we've obviously not precepted for this. But I would really like some understanding before we actually commit to spending where that money is coming from.
Thank you, Councillor Tudgate. Councillor Greening, do you wish to speak again before I respond?
Yeah, I would just sort of finalise by saying that I think this is probably something that gets put onto our precept for next year.
Yeah. Okay. So in response to your questions, Councillor Greening, you are correct. As Councillor Tudgate has stated, we have not precepted for this as a work stream this year. We have, and so therefore we'd need to find it through other grant, our engagement grant, or one of our service lines within our current budget to support, dependent on what version we went with. The other aspect to this is, yes, we do have a responsibility to engage with our residents of all ages. However, and in fact, sorry, not however, in fact, in the 2 engagement events we held prior to lockdown, we had young people attend, but I don't think that truly is representative of young people. And actually, if we're truly going to engage and understand and identify where additional support might be needed, then you need a different approach. And that isn't, I don't believe, unless someone's going to tell me differently, we have that skill set in our town council currently. It is a particular skill set to engage with young people, as it is a particular skill set to engage with the more mature people in our town, or people who might have a learning disability, or normal general public, sorry, then I think whoever we aim at, we need to make sure we are truly engaging and listening. So I think this is a gap in our current model anyway, and what we've seen is an opportunity to think differently about how we might bridge that gap. So that's where this has come from, and working with a very experienced group of individuals from the police, from youth, Young Somerset, and people who work with young people all the time. I would suggest that we do need to consider this, if it's not in this financial year, noting, I'm going to start coughing again, sorry, noting Councillor Vagg's comment about, I told you I was, I apologise, my asthma's bad today. Noting Councillor Vagg's comments about lockdown, it is entirely correct that lockdown will have its own issues to be taken into account, as would winter. Sorry, Councillor Power, you wish to speak?
I think you sent the minutes out to us because I was in the meeting. Do you think it's possible to send it out to full council so they can understand what happened in the meeting?
Yes, I can share the scoping meeting with council, and actually those that have put themselves forward to be part of the youth group, working group, will also be invited to the next meeting. So I'm happy to do that, and I will do that. I'm sorry if I hadn't done that to date. So can I then ask, what I'm hearing is, sorry, is that as a council we support the terms of reference. However, what we're saying is at this time we're unable to support the proposal in this quarter 3, because we're not clear of where the money will come from, but we're open to considering it as part of precept. Is that what I've heard? Councillor Tudgay.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think if we could find some money, then I would personally would be quite happy for it to go ahead. Obviously, you know, when COVID allows and things, but I would personally like a clearer idea of which pot we're going to take the money from, or whether we're going to draw it from reserves, in fact. So I think the sensible way out of this would be to bring the item back as a standalone agenda item in the near future.
Thank
when
you.
We've done a little bit more homework on it.
Thank you, Councillor Tudgay. Councillor Greening.
I would say I would happily endorse a first month trial, that sort of £1,100. I think we could find that at the very least. My question would then be, how many months or what tier do you have to kind of implement to get any sort of real return on that investment? So, you know, like I said earlier, in theory, yes, I understand that we're identifying the need and that there is need in that, but I think we just have to dot the I's and cross the T's with a sort of financial due diligence. That's all.
Thank you for that, Councillor Greening and Councillor Tudgay. So what I'm hearing is we'll bring this back to a further council meeting before the end of this for the end of this calendar year, to actually then consider it in more detail and what the opportunities look like. Is that correct? So Locum Clark,
I was just going to say, you had by the minutes, you had a proposal that you've brought to the meeting.
Yes.
So I think what you're basically doing is dropping that proposal for the time being.
We're deferring it to the next meeting.
Yes. And then put it to the next meeting.
To actually bring more detail back to council.
That's correct.
So do we need to vote on that, or do you note that, Locum Clark? Sorry.
We're going to just note that as a note.
Thank you.
I'm going to write it into the minutes that we are deferring it and bringing it back with more detail at probably the next meeting.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. Is everyone supportive of that as a way forward? Lovely. Can I then move forward then to point 11, if I may, and the absence management policy, to discuss and approve the absent policy. So councillors, councillors would have read the policy. Are there any comments to the policy at this time? No? So if that is the case and no one has any questions or comments they wish to make, can I ask for a proposer, please, for the absent management policy, please? Councillor Vagg. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Waters, are you seconding? Thank you. And can I have if you're for the policy, can I ask that you raise your hand? So I have Councillor Thomas, Councillor Greening, Councillor Smith, Councillor Power, Councillor Waters, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, and Councillor Vagg. So I believe that to be unanimous.
Unanimous. Yes.
Thank you. So the policy will be date stamped tonight, the 9th of the 11th, to be reviewed in a year or under 6 months if required. Thank you for that. The next item on the agenda is the personnel terms of reference, to note and adopt amended personnel terms of reference. So councillors, you would have read it. Can I ask, are there any comments in relation to the terms of reference? No? Thank you. So can I then ask for a proposer, please? Councillor Tudgay, are you proposing? Yes. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Ralph. And can I have a vote for the policy for terms of reference for personnel, amended terms of reference for the Personnel Committee? So Councillor Thomas, Councillor Greening, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, and Councillor Vagg. So I believe that to be unanimous.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. So an E-stamp of the 9th of the 11th, 2020 will be added to that. and we can review in a minimum of 6 months, but a year would be normal process. So the next item on the agenda, the annual community awards, has been deferred to the next meeting or subsequent meeting, and will be a closed session. Moving into 4.14, which is the Wincanton Town Crier, to note and approve. Oh, sorry, Councillor, sorry, Locum Clark.
Yeah, before a previous meeting, I think about 2 meetings ago, when you deferred something like this annual community awards, we dropped it completely and I moved up the agenda item. So we'll be dealing with 13 will become 14. Are you with that?
Yes, I apologise. Yes, you are correct. Thank you.
Okay.
I apologise.
All right.
So 13 is now Wincanton Town Crier.
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
Lovely. Okay. So, councillors, you would be aware that this proposal has been through the stakeholder group for discussion, and has been through personnel, and it now comes to council to note and approve. So, if I may, I will set the scene for you. So, the Town Crier was a proposal brought to council from members of the public who we had, as a town, previously had 3 town criers in the 1800s, which seems a very long time ago, but nevertheless, it's part of our history. And the reason for bringing it forward was that residents felt we have an awful lot of history in our town. We also are looking to stand out in terms of our individuality, both in terms of our high street around independent shops, but also how unique and quirky our high street is in terms of the immense amount of history within the town. And this particular role is an unpaid role where a member of the public, male or female, submit an application to council, because the individual will come under the council in terms of reporting. And as I clearly said, it's unpaid, but there's an honorarium, and the honorarium is a small amount of money to cover things like stockings and so forth. This role is about undertaking duties as agreed by the council, but in addition, they can earn money from working with local businesses to promote things that are going on in the town. But obviously, there's also the ability to royal visits or civic occasions. I mean, it goes on. I'm not going to go through it in detail. But this is an opportunity for our town to be a bit different, to attract people in, but also act as the ability to promote our town. So currently there are items for the regalia, which is the outfit that the individual will wear, made available to council. We will be looking for a small amount of money as charitable donations to purchase the rest of the items and from businesses, but on the whole, most of it will be covered by those donations and offers from local theatrical groups in the town and the museum through a donation and small donations back to cover the bell and so forth. Are there any questions in relation to the Town Crier? No? So what we're looking for tonight is general agreement to move forward to a point in the new year. We will hold a competition where people who come forward will be asked with 200 words to say a set of whatever it might be to the general public, and that individual will then be with other town criers. So it will be a spectacle, hopefully encouraging people to come into our town when COVID is not restricting people coming in. So if there's no further questions, can I ask for a poser to take this forward as an appointment within the town council? Councillor Ralph Bauer, sorry, are you voting or speaking? voting. So you're proposing. Can I have a seconder, please, for the town crier? Councillor Ralph. Can I have a vote for the town crier? So 4 is Councillor Thomas, Councillor Greening, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Shelbourne-Barry and Councillor Vagg. Thank you for that. I believe that's unanimous.
Yes.
And what yes, Councillor Tudgay, are you wishing to speak?
Yes.
Did you want
I'm
to
going-
speak before?
No,
All right.
I'm just going to take a quick comfort stop.
Thank you.
I'll be back.
Okay, thank you. I will just say before we move on that if anyone knows of an individual, male or female, who would like to become the town crier with a clear voice and the sort of values that we as a council wish to see in our staff and council, then please feel free to encourage them to come forward when we advertise the post. So thank you for that. Locum Clerk, are you happy with that for 13?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, we're moving on now, where Councillor Tudgay will return shortly to number 14, which is badger culling on Wincanton Town Council land. So councillors, I shared with you the motion that was shared with us from South Somerset District Council. I'm now going to cough again. I do apologise. So this is for council to consider. One moment. I'm getting back feed. Is everyone else hearing me okay? Apart from my coughing, I apologise for that. So council to consider refusing badger culling on our land owned by Wincanton Town Council in support of South Somerset District Council proposal to refuse badger culling on South Somerset District Council land. I shared with you the motion which was shared with us. Councillors, do you have any comments or views in relation to this particular item? Councillor Tudgay, we've now moved to badger culling on Wincanton Town Council land. Councillor Vagg, do you have a comment?
Yes, I hope we haven't moved to badger culling. I'm being silly. I am personally firmly against this. I've never heard an argument that says that just shooting badgers indiscriminately does anything about TB in cattle. I've read quite a lot about it and I'm completely anti.
Okay, any other councillors? Comments? So this is to consider refusing badger culling on our land, Wincanton Town Council land, as it currently stands on the 9th of the 11th, 2020. If there's no comments, Locum Clerk, as we are considering refusing, how do we note this? Do we vote and record?
Yes, because you've got it as a proposal, so.
Okay.
So you'll have to have a proposer and a seconder.
Thank you. So thank you for that, Locum Clerk. Can I have a proposer? Is that you, Councillor Vagg, you're proposing? Can I have a seconder, please, to not have badger culling on Wincanton Town Council land? That's Councillor Smith. And can I ask for, if you support, you're for the proposal not to have badger culling on Wincanton Town Council land. If you're for it, can you raise your hand? So I have Councillor Thomas, Councillor Greening, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Power, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Shelbourne-Barry and Councillor Vagg. So that's, I understand, to be unanimous.
Yes.
So we will find a statement to go on our website and inform South Somerset District Council that we have supported that motion for our town council. Thank you for that. We're now moving on to what is now 15, which is the Wincanton Stakeholder Group. So as colleagues who attend are aware, and from previous discussions, Wincanton Stakeholder Group is made up of stakeholders in the town and members of council. Within the stakeholder group, we consider proposals under the Good Stuff Fund, and in this instance, we're considering tonight a recommendation from the stakeholder group on the 3rd of November. And this is the item that Councillor Ralph, Councillor Thomas, and Councillor Greening have said that they will not take part in, they will not vote, and they will actually remove themselves from the meeting. So before they go, are there any comments before we vote? Are there any comments from council in terms of this recommendation? Councillor Tudgay. Sorry, Councillor Tudgay, do you wish? I can't hear you, but you're not muted. No, I still can't hear you, but you're not muted. It clearly states you're not muted, so I'm not clear why we can't hear you, Councillor Tudgay. No, I'm afraid not. It's very frustrating, this Zoom business.
I wonder,
you know.
Councillor Tudgay, when you muted your video or moved your screen, did you turn your volume down? Is there a manual volume button on your laptop?
Yes.
Oh, you've muted yourself and you've unmuted, but we still can't hear you. So I think Councillor Ralph's point is well made, that it might be your volume is down. Okay, are there any other, while Councillor Tudgay is trying to work out why he's unable to be heard, are there, you could put some comments in the chat if you would like, Councillor Tudgay. I think I got the gist that you that's not really where you're going to be going with that. So okay, Councillor Tudgay, are you happy for us to proceed? And are you happy? You can choose not to be included in the voting if you feel that your comments are material to the outcome of the vote.
Try reconnecting before you give up, just in case it's a Zoom glitch.
Mm.
Are you on an?
Oh,
is he on an iPad or is it a laptop or something?
it's a laptop. It is a laptop. He's gone, so he will be back. I would suggest. Let me just go to the other screen. Right. So while we're waiting for Councillor Tudgay to return, are there any comments, other comments from members of council in relation to the bid? No? Some of you would have been in the meeting when it was discussed. We'll give Councillor Tudgay a moment to return. Okay, so without Councillor Tudgay and 3 members of council not voting, are we quorate? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're still quorate, I believe, without Councillor Tudgay, not including 3 councillors. Oh, have I got that right? 1?
Yes.
Yes, because Councillor Thomas, Councillor Greening, Councillor Ralph cannot be included.
You'll have 5 people voting.
5.
That's quorate though, isn't it? We are just quorate. So, let me just let Councillor Tudgay back in. The foibles of Zoom.
There he is.
Okay, Ray. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations, Ray. Okay, what would you like to say before we move to vote?
I've forgotten what we were talking about now.
We were talking about Wincanton Stakeholder Group and the recommendation on the 3rd of November to support the
Festival of Light.
Yes.
I would like to know when it was going to take place.
Councillor Greening, it was in the paperwork, but Councillor Greening, can I invite you to speak, please, in relation to that?
Yeah, Ray, it's the week of February half term, which I believe starts on the 12th.
12th of February.
Of February, correct.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, so there had been some amendments from our end. We were originally going to go for every Saturday in the month. We've decided that our audience pull and catchment is better suited to go for the month, the week of February half term.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sorry, Councillor Tudgate.
What are there any contingency plans if we're still in this sort of semi-lockdown situation?
So the way that our COVID protocols have been structured, by the very nature of the event being principally outside, our COVID kind of protocols make for those allowances for holding an outdoor event. In terms of a cancellation of the event, of an event, I think it's unlikely, but if it is, it doesn't have too many financial consequences attached. So the monies that are ring-fenced effectively, we're not incurring a lot of costs until the event actually takes place, if that makes sense. So
I was more concerned about bringing people. I mean, the object obviously is to bring footfall into the town.
Yeah.
But if we are still in this situation that we're in right now, I mean, it would be perhaps seen to be wrong to be encouraging people to come into town.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say that we're going to be following government guidelines. If the government says, listen, you just can't do it, then we can't do it.
Thank you.
And then we will just defer it to the following year.
Right, thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to hear, Zach. Thank you.
Can I just also say that monies allocated under the Good Stuff Fund come under the Town Council grant policy. And if the monies aren't used in the financial year they've been issued, then they return to council. So that is within our policy. So if it was to take place the following year, then you'd have to reapply, Zach. I'm not sure we have a process to protect the money other than it needs to be returned if the activity does not take place. Okay? That's standard policy for all grants within the council, sorry. So can I then, are there any other comments? Yes, Councillor Greening.
So just on that note then, are we assuming then that the Good Stuff Fund or the grants application is going to be in the precept for next year then?
The proposal will be discussed as part of precept, and the sum of money that we may well include within the Town Initiative Fund will be included in that. But I can't say until we've been through precept and had that discussion as a council if the Town Initiative Fund will be there, or indeed to the sum of what amount. Because we have to have that discussion. But the sense from this year is it's a positive work stream that we'd like to continue. But in transparency stakes, I would say that we can't confirm that at this time.
All right.
Okay. In terms of those that now need to leave the meeting, I'm going to ask that, hold it one moment, sorry. Stop Councillor Thomas's video, stop. And can I ask you put yourselves on mute if you aren't already? Stop. Councillor, sorry.
On.
I'm getting around the screen. It's getting there.
Can
I just
they-
don't want to stop the wrong person and stop Councillor Ralph. So all the councillors who declared an interest have been removed. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 members of council in the meeting and the locum clerk. So
Do they not need to
Councillor-
actually leave the meeting?
They are. They are in all intents and purposes out of the meeting
Yes.
because they can't see and they can't hear and they can't communicate.
How,
They can't speak.
Can they
and
not see
can't
us?
see.
No.
They
I
can, but
Can I say, I can see everybody and I
I
can
s-
hear everything you're
surely
saying.
you can leave the meeting and then rejoin, and then they can be readmitted.
What
When we're ready.
about putting them in the waiting room?
I'm
That's what
just
I mean.
doing
Yeah.
it now.
Put 'em in
I
the
was
waiting
trying to
room.
do the simple approach, but I'm putting them in the waiting room and hoping I can get them back out at the end.
Oh, you should.
Okay, they're all
In the
in the
sin bin.
waiting room. So we have Councillor Tudgate, Councillor Waters, Councillor Smith, Councillor Power, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrett and Councillor Bagg in the meeting and the locum clerk. So the proposal was supported by the stakeholder group on the 3rd of November. Do we as council support? So is there a proposer to support the Festival of Lights application for £1,000? Are you voting Councillor Vagg? Yes. So Councillor Vagg is proposing. Councillor Power, are you speaking, Councillor Power? Can you then take yourself off mute?
This is just a general comment. What I've heard from members of the public, that some people aren't comfortable with money going to councillors. I'm not quite so sure on what I'll vote on for that one, in my honest opinion.
Okay. So councillors, this is not a new thing. This is, councillors have been supported previously in previous terms to provide services to council against a set criteria. It's been through, in this instance, it's been through all of our governance processes. In terms of the grant process, it's been through the stakeholder group, and it has funding from other sources, so there's match funding in place. This is, I'm struggling to understand why this would be an issue if the governance has been supported. Locum Clerk, you just define from your experience with councillors who provide a service but are also a councillor, how that normally works with other councils?
Yeah, I mean, in our small, well, not so small council, there are councillors who carry out various duties that do get paid. Not, I don't think they get a sum of money, not as such, but they do. One of them, he changes all the batteries and everything else and stuff for the SID machine, you know, the thing that does the speed checks through the
Yes.
village. We've got 2 of those, and he changes and recharges the batteries. And if he purchases the batteries, that's all approved by the council, and any small items that he buys or purchases. And I think he adds into it like half an hour's work at £10 an hour or something. But it's all agreed beforehand, and it's made quite clear in the minuting of it for the council. And it's when the actual sum of money or the cheque is paid, that is completely minuted and put into the minutes.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Waters.
I was just going to say, if they're being paid because they're providing a service, does that make a difference?
From my perspective, as a member of the public, but also the fact that it's gone through our governance, this has been ratified, supported by the stakeholder group with the Good Stuff Fund. This isn't the first. I'm trying to think, there are other proposals that have been through that have been, councillors have been, I'm trying to think, supportive of. So there's potential for this to be an ongoing issue. In this context, these councillors live and work in our town. That's one of the prerequisites to being a councillor. You cannot be a councillor unless you live and work in the town or within 3 miles of our town boundary. If you choose not to support Councillor Power, that is your right as a councillor. However, I think we need to revisit this as council, because we need to clearly understand why councillors are providing services that come through a grant funding process that just on this instance happens to be the Good Stuff Fund. Councillor Waters.
Is there anybody else in the town that would be capable of doing this anyway?
Not that I'm aware, because it's a very specific and specialised piece of work.
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Power, and then the locum clerk, please.
I've got nothing against the other councillors. I think they do a great job, but it's just I've got on my conscience that I've also got other members of the town that have a voice as well, that they don't feel comfortable with councillors getting paid, so I will be voting against it.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Can I locum clerk and then Councillor Bagg?
Yeah, all I would bring to your attention is that I believe it's in your standing orders, it is in ours. If you're providing anything to the council, you're supposed to get 2 quotations in for that item or service to be done into the council. Now, whether you do this by getting quotations in, I don't know. And as I think one of the councillors just said just there isn't probably anybody in the town or the area who would do this particular item. And therefore, It comes down to the council to decide itself.
Thank you. Councillor Tudgay and then Councillor Smith. I don't know who put your hand up first, because my...
Vicky was first. Vicky wants to speak.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Bagg.
In answer to the locum clerk, we had this arise with something, I think it was Councillor Greening and Councillor Thomas before, and our full-time clerk commented at the time that it was so specialist that it wouldn't be possible to get in other quotes. That's not what I spoke up to say. The Councillor Shelbourne Barrow mentioned match funding. In point of fact, the other funding that Councillor Greening has obtained far exceeds the amount that they're asking council to help them with, and he's done a lot of work on this.
Thank you, Councillor Bagg. Councillor Smith and then Councillor Tudgay.
My perspective on this, for Tom's benefit, is that in contrast to a situation that I'm in, where I'm rendering a service for the web hosting, which can be done by someone else, this is people who, on the council or otherwise, have autonomously brought to the table a unique proposition which can't be duplicated by anybody else. So it's not something that can go to tender. You can't just come up with an idea and say, we're going to do this unique thing, and then arbitrarily hunt around for people to do exactly the same thing. It's a different situation. I can be replaced, but they can't.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Tudgay.
The other point I would like to make, that this is actually coming from a pot of money in the form of a grant. So in a way, it could be argued that we're not directly buying, the council is not directly buying the service from Zach or anybody else. So in a way, provided, as you state, Chair, that all the governance and all the crosses and all the dots have been put in place, then I think we're quite right to provide this grant. And as has been said, it's match funding, and some of the funding far outweighs what we're about to contribute if we do. So yes, I think we should simply go ahead and do it.
So in summary, from those, Councillor Waters, she's back. You're back, Councillor Waters. In summary, what I've heard, and just to clarify our position, and I think before I move into clarifying our position, I would like to say that I think this would be a useful conversation for us to have as a council in our governance meeting, because I actually think we as a council need to understand what the impact of this is, on individuals who deliver a service in the town but also happen to be a councillor. And actually, if we agree our position as a council, we still have the right to choose to vote for or against. However, we do need to understand what processes need to be put into place to enable that governance to be held, and us to be held to account, but also in a transparent and honest way. So in terms of commissioning, it is correct that for non-specialist services, of which I would suggest this is a specialist service, you would go out for tender, and there is a clear process in our standing orders and in financial regulations that support that. In this instance, it is a specialist service that would not be met, I believe, from an external source. And at no point has that been made clear to council that is required. In terms of today and this proposal, there was a recommendation from the stakeholder group that's made up of a raft of different stakeholders in the town. So we will again clarify the governance associated with that, not only for this financial year, but moving forward if the Good Stuff Fund and the Town Initiative Pot remain. So this is just to clarify our position and what's been said. It's not to influence, it's just to be clear what's been said today. So in terms of the next steps, what I'll be now looking for is, having received comments from council, is to ask for councillors who are for to raise your hand if you're for this proposal. And the proposal is £1,000 towards a festival of lights in the town. So,
Chair.
Yes,
Chair.
sorry.
Who are the proposers and seconders, please?
No one's proposed yet.
No, thank you.
So can I ask for a proposer for the Festival of Lights, if you're for? That's Councillor Vagg. Can I ask for a seconder for the proposal of the Festival of Lights? Can I ask for a seconder, please? Councillor Waters. And can I ask if you're for the Festival of Lights? So I have Councillor Waters, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Smith, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrow, and Councillor Vagg. Thank you. And those against, please. Councillor Power has voted against. So we have 5 for and 1 against. Locum Clerk, would you confirm if that's passed, or
Yes.
try and let these people back in the meeting, our councillors?
That's a 4. The proposal has passed by 5 to 1.
Thank you. I'm just inviting the councillors back into the meeting. Slowly, they're joining slowly. So it's now 20:37. I'll just try and... I'm trying to actually... Can you turn your cameras back on, because I'm struggling... Start video. Sorry, I was struggling to get my cursor on the second screen, so I apologise for my delay. So Councillor Ralph, Councillor Greening and Councillor Thomas, I would like to confirm the proposal has been supported. We had Clark, could you read, Locum Clark, could you read the outcome, please?
Yes, there were 5 votes for, 5 votes for and 1 vote against.
Thank you.
So
now,
carried.
Thank you. We're now moving forward to the next item on the agenda, which is 16 and the Wincanton Town offer. And this is to consider and approve the town offer for November through to March 2021. Now, you will all remember in March this year, we had a very developed and actually recognised town offer by other towns and other services supporting Wincanton. We revisited that offer in September and then reviewed it to look at what we then needed moving forward from November through to March. And with that, we agreed that the new service offer would look like, and this is this is not a clinical model, this is a social model. So, and what I mean by that is it's clinical means it's not linked to the health service. This is linked to providing social support and services to those in need or those wishing to have access to services in the town through other bodies. So the MHA Community South Somerset will continue to provide services for older people, and they're looking at befriending and walks offers. But the biggest change is parcels. So during our full lockdown, Wincanton Town Council provided food parcels for people who were referred. In discussion with the food bank, it has been agreed the main food bank offer will be delivered through the community church on Tuesday mornings, and that in the event that an individual requires a parcel in the week, they will be able to access the food bank on a particular number and email account to gain access to that parcel. In addition, what will continue is the support from Citizens Advice and Samaritans and Mine Line for Somerset. And there's also a COVID County Council line available to members of the public where there is some support available. But at this time, it's currently quite limited in terms of being close to Wincanton. And in addition, that doesn't directly link to food resilience, but there is an offer coming that may well do. We will have a community fridge to look at reducing landfill and waste in the town. I have had a conversation where we may be able to secure a second fridge and freezer to through a fund that's available through the County Council to actually put frozen food meals into a freezer for people to access. And it's not aimed at individuals, it's aimed at our community. So anyone has a right to access the community fridge. And if we have a food resilience fridge, that they also can access that as well. Anyone can. This is about supporting our community. So this is our current model. We will revisit it if there's a necessity to in terms of COVID and or a different type of lockdown. But as it stands, this is the model. So any questions from council? No? Okay, can I then ask for a proposer, a seconder, sorry, and a vote? So can I have a proposer, Councillor Tudgay? Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Smith, and can I have a vote if you're for the current model that's been developed with stakeholders in the town? So I have Councillor Waters, Councillor Greening, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Power, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Smith, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrett, Councillor Vagg. I believe that is unanimous.
Yes.
Thank you. We're now moving on to the Wincanton public statement, which is item number 17. So it is now 20:42 and we're looking to complete the meeting at 9 o'clock because that will be 2 hours as in within our standing orders. So just making council aware. So in terms of statement 2, this was circulated to you prior to the meeting and councillors were aware of this statement as it was developed. Are there any questions in relation to the statement? In terms of councillors today, all amendments that have been submitted have been included in the document. No, any comments? So to set the scene, this is the second public statement we as a town council are looking to share with the public, and it will be published. And it responds to not only a narrative in terms of a summary of where we are and the good stuff that's going on, but also responds to public participation. So can I have a proposer, please, for the statement, if there's no questions? Councillor Greening, is that a proposal?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Thomas. And can I have a vote if you're for the public statement dated today, the 9th of November? So Councillor Power is for, Councillor Waters, Councillor Greening, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgay, Councillor Smith, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrett, and Councillor Vagg. That's unanimous, I understand it, Locum Clerk?
Correct, absolutely correct.
So I will ask tomorrow for the office to prepare it with all councillors' names on. It will be published and available in our notice board at the front of our office. So the next item on the agenda, unless there's anything else on that item, I'm moving on, is 18 and correspondence. So tonight we have one correspondence. It relates to a letter on the 4th of the 11th in relation to the town meeting. We have previously responded twice to the town meeting, and I understand the request this time is to clarify further if the council will be arranging the meeting. Do councillors have any comments at this time? That's lovely singing, councillors. Greening, is that your young people?
Yes, I'll go on mute. Sorry.
No, you don't have to apologise, but just for seriousness, can we? So, can I ask, if there's no comments, how you would wish as a council to respond? Councillor Tudgate.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Chair. How are we going to respond? That is the question.
So the question is, do the town council intend to organise the town meeting? Well, I thought in the letter it was clear that we were not organising the town meeting. And if and when it was organised, we would cover the costs of it under the LGA 1972.
1972 Local Government Act, Section 12.
Section 12.
Schedule 12.
Yes, indeed. We confirmed we would, as required, cover the costs for the meeting, whether it be on Zoom, if it was able to happen in that way, or in person. I'm not clear what further we can say, because we've said we will cover the cost. Count Locum Clerk, do you wish to speak?
Just a query on this. From what I've always gathered, I mean, for us, we have to have a parish meeting every year. A parish meeting. It's called the parish meeting. Now, the parish meeting is nothing to do with the council, but we have always organised it. And if councillors turn up, if the chair turns up, the chair has to take the chair. If not, they have to decide amongst themselves as a parish who they're going to have as the chair. But I'm not, when I read all this about the town meeting, because it's a town, Wincanton town, is it different to the parish meeting? Is it a separate thing? Do you have a parish meeting every year?
We have an annual meeting where we present our report to members of the public, but this is a request coming from the residents in the town to have a town meeting under the LGA 1972 Schedule 12, where it says we fund it, but we don't necessarily have to attend, and we don't, I understood, have to organise it. So the question comes to council. How do we wish to respond? Councillor Greening.
Haven't we done the due diligence and responded accordingly already?
I believe we have.
So I don't believe we have to respond. We've already responded twice.
Can I ask any other councillors for a view or comment? Councillor Vagg.
I just say our position remains unchanged. For your information, here's a copy of our previous letter.
Thank you. Any other comments from councillors? Councillor Ralph.
So Councillor Vagg's suggestion makes sense. If the answer we've given is not understood as it stands, that's unlikely to enlighten them any further, isn't it? I don't have an answer. As you've just said, I thought we've said that we will not be organising the town meeting. And that is that, really.
We'll pay for it, but we didn't say we'd organise it. Councillor Thomas, then Councillor Tudgay. Councillor Thomas, I'm afraid you're muted.
Not muted now. As Councillor Greening said, if we've done our due diligence, then there's no enlightening to be done since all the light's been shed on it in the first place. I mean, I've read it many times and it seems pretty clear. So I don't know what else, unless there's something everyone's missed or we've missed, then it seems like it's a fairly clear arrangement. They arrange it, we attend if we want, we'll pay for it if they want.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Tudgay, you put your hand up, and then the locum clerk.
I think with respect, we haven't actually said in the letter that we will not hold the meeting. I think we've not said in point blank terms that we will not hold the meeting. I feel a little bit awkward because I was not at the meeting when you discussed this. So under my understanding of democracy, I simply agree with what you've done. But I do, had I been in the meeting, my rebuttal of the request for a town meeting would have been much stronger.
And what would you have liked to have said, Councillor Tudgay? I'm just letting Councillor Waters back in somehow when I get onto the right screen, sorry. So we are at 2051. So Councillor Tudgay, is there a set of particular words you'd like to include?
Well, yeah, if council has agreed that we're not going to hold the meeting, then we should say exactly that, is all I'm saying. I don't believe, having read the letters, that that is what we have said.
This isn't about holding it, it's about organising it, isn't it?
Well, you call it what you like, Chair, with respect, whether we organise it, hold it, or whatever.
Yeah.
If council has taken the decision not to do that, then we should, as a council, communicate that to the writer and the co-signatories of the letter.
Thank you.
It's that simple.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Ralph, at 2052, I'm only keeping an eye on the time because of items for the next meeting.
Can I make the proposal then that
yes, please,
language possible?
Yes,
please. Say what Councillor Tudgay has just said in a letter.
Okay, Locum Clark, did you note that?
Yes, I've got that.
Thank
you. For a proposal, only I would say is, why can't these people who want a town meeting come to the parish meeting? And that is a town meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the same. It's the same thing. A parish meeting or a town meeting, it's exactly the same thing. And the council must hold a parish meeting once a year between May and June, I think it is.
Yes.
Yes,
So,
and then we don't need to pay for something twice.
yeah.
Okay.
If you have a parish meeting, if they come, they come. If they don't come, they don't come.
So we now have, is that a proposal that's being put forward as well, alongside the proposal that Councillor Tudgay has stated? That
You've had a proposal from Councillor Ralph.
Yes, that states, whatever set of wording it was, that, what, could you read the proposal again? Sorry, Locum Clark. So
Well, I'd ask Councillor Ralph what she actually said.
Well, I was proposing that we use simple language to echo Councillor Tudgay's statement around simply stating that we will meet the cost of a meeting, but we will not be organising it as a town council. Is that fair, everyone?
yeah. So we're stating that as one proposal, and then I heard that potential second proposal, which is that they're invited to attend the annual meeting, which will take place next year, subject to COVID, in person. Yes, Councillor Greening.
Could we just not add that as a sub note to Councillor Ralph's proposal?
Yep. So the sub note is that, so simple language is that we will meet the costs but not organise as a town council, with a few more wraparound words, cuddly, words to define it slightly. And the sub note is we would invite them to attend the annual meeting that will take place next year. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. So are we all happy with that as a response? Yes? Locum Clerk, do we need to vote, or you happen to just note that?
Oh, I think I would vote on it.
So the proposal as stands by Councillor Ralph, put forward by Councillor Ralph, stands with the sub-note stated by Councillor Greening. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Greening, and can I have 4, please? If you're for the comment and the clear comment, simple language and the sub-note. So Councillor Waters, Councillor Power, Councillor Greening, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Ralph, Councillor Tudgate, Councillor Smith, Councillor Shelbourne-Barrett, Councillor Vagg. So I believe that to be unanimous.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. So moving on to the last item on the agenda, which is items for the next meeting. Can I just ask for any councillors who wish to propose any items for the next meeting on the 23rd of November? Councillor Ralph.
This isn't necessarily an agenda item, but it's something that needs signposting. A resident has approached me, Paul Hayes, with a suggestion around trying to solve the incident in the marketplace with the lorry this week. And he's wondering if we need to look at the signage around heavy goods vehicles, and I wasn't sure where that suggestion and thought should go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I wonder if we bring that, can we look at that as a conversation piece that links to the discussions with our insurers? Because it may well come out of requirements moving forward and working with highways. But that's a good point. Thank you, Councillor Ralph. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Tudgay, in terms of items for the next agenda? We're on.
Are we going to put the sports ground grant on as an agenda item?
Yes, we are. So I have, just for clarity purposes, at 2057, community awards, a closed session, AGAR update, Christmas tree lights switched on, how we switch them on, and we may need to do that virtually. A governance terms of reference for the working group will start in November that we've agreed. A finance proposal for the young people youth outreach. And finally, grants funding Wincanton Sports Ground. Is there anything else we're missing, councillors? This isn't the final list. If there's anything else, please feel free to contact the Deputy Clerk and Locum Clerk in the office. Okay, so are you putting your hand up, Councillor Tucker? Yes, thank you.
I'm not sure that it should be an agenda item, but it should also be noted that we've still not received the car parking contract from SSDC.
Yes.
I think we need to keep that in our minds as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Anything else, councillors, at 2058? No. Right, I would like to thank you all for your time tonight and for patience with Zoom, because it can be tricky at some points with volume and video and so forth. So I do appreciate that. It's been a very productive meeting, and we will provide actions following from this in terms of an action log moving forward, and I wish you all a good evening. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.